DeSanto Propane is 4 generations strong as a trustworthy family-owned business with unmatched customer service. Go online at DeSantoPropane.com for more info or call toll-free at 1-800-752-4574. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto.
All right, everybody, welcome into Fresh Takes with Russo and Felice. Paul Russo here, Nick Felice with me as always. Special Friday edition. I know, I think last week I did say Thursday, just ended up not being able to work out that way, logistically speaking. But luckily, Nick, there was no Thursday night football NFL-wise.
Thursday afternoon.
So we could avoid that. But yeah, correct. The way everything worked out, and we'll touch more on that obviously in a second, worked out well because we were able to fully talk about, the college football quarterfinal round in full and the stuff that surrounded that. So kind of worked out pretty well. And then we do have NBA news that we're going to touch on. I know it's going to be a bit homerish, unfortunately for me, but it's kind of hard to ignore what has become of the Jimmy Butler versus Miami Heat saga. So a few things to get to. We're going to try and keep it a little bit tight and compact as best we can today. I know high schools are still off, but Nick, you're off. You actually got to cover a pretty big game, so we're going to try and get through this. But how's the week been so far for you? Because New Year, one of your favorite holidays, New Year's Eve.
Yeah, it's still allowed to say Happy New Year to you.
I think today is the last day.
What's today? The 3rd.
The 3rd.
Yeah. Happy New Year to everyone out there. PGA Tour came back yesterday. Pretty exciting stuff. But yeah, college football has been taking over the sports spotlight so far, and I've enjoyed it. Obviously, little homer, but I
bet you have though. So we'll get to that in a second. I think a couple sponsors here before we get going any further, including Rosselli Northern, supporting local construction since 1929 with premium products and quality service, and serving the Finger Lakes with the Ready Mix plant in Waterloo, Newark. Now for a couple of years. And Blush by CV Designs, local woman-owned business in the heart of the Finger Lakes, offering women's clothing and accessories, quality home goods, and unique gifts. You can see what everybody's talking about by visiting their location downtown Niagara Falls. Or browse all their products online at shopcvdesigns.com. So, first and foremost, college football quarterfinal. We will be working, I guess, kind of backwards on the way here. Unprecedented terrorist attack in New Orleans. Sugar Bowl gets postponed to yesterday, a little under 24 hours. I believe it was a 20-hour delay technically. Notre Dame, Georgia, interesting game to kind of move through here in the past literal month, more or less, especially on the Georgia side. Obviously, we know Notre Dame, relatively speaking, right, cruises through with Indiana in the opening round. Then obviously the stuff with Carson Beck being out, they moved to Gunnar Stockton, the backup Georgia. There's a lot more questions, I would say. But up until kind of day of game, Georgia was kind of still hanging out on the betting side technically as the favorite. And then all of a sudden, leading into the game time in the final 12 or so hours, you really saw a surge on the Notre Dame side. And look, Vegas knows. I know from my bracket, I had Notre Dame moving on anyway in that game. And, I mean, it was just kind of marvel to witness. I know it's interesting. There's a lot of talk more about, I'd say, the offense and stuff like that. Like, Notre Dame's defense, man, I mean, and it's kind of funny the way the broadcast is. I thought, luckily, to me anyway, that game, the Sugar Bowl had the best play-by-play guy in the playoff, and Sean McDonough, first and foremost. So I thought he did a pretty great job of kind of keeping a couple people in check of stuff. It's like, well, they're playing back Bob. I'm like, man, and he's like, the Notre Dame defense has been pretty good all year, and it just really showed out. And obviously, offensively, everything kind of worked out. But really, the key part in this ends up kind of being towards the end of the first half and into the beginning of the second half. We're within a 54 collective second time span. Notre Dame scores 17 unanswered points within that run, and that just proved really, frankly, to be the difference maker in the long run because Notre Dame's defense, like I said, was just frankly just keeping the Bulldogs in check the whole game.
Yeah, Stephen McDonough is my favorite, but don't disrespect my guy Chris Flower like that. But okay, I digress. I think Notre Dame just beat them at all phases of the game, all three facets of the game with, defense and offense and special teams. I think one of the biggest keys of that game was when they got Ohio State to jump off sides there on they were going to punt it, or they were going to go for it, but then they get a false start, and then they were going to punt it, but Notre Dame jumps, then they go for it anyway. That turned into a big stop.
Yeah.
But when Notre Dame was about to punt the ball, or they were going to punt the ball, they bring out the weird. And
they didn't swap out all 11. That's the key part in it.
And they got them to jump and got the free, and then they continued the drive. So it turned out to be those two drives were huge when stopping Ohio State there and then continuing that drive. I think were the big difference. But obviously, scoring 17 points, whatever it was, in 50-something seconds was huge.
Yeah.
Coming out in the second half, there's more special teams for you with the kickoff return. So defensively, they proved that they are like an SEC-type defense now. In these type of games, they would always, they would show up in, the regular season with their weaker schedule. And when they started playing a really good team, defense kind of, disappeared when those type of games. But this is a different type of Notre Dame team. This isn't the Notre Dame team that played in the 2013 National Championship game all those years ago. This is a different type of team. This is a team that could actually win a national championship this year. And I'll ask you this, Paul, because I think it is. Was this the greatest Notre Dame win in our lifetime?
Oh, in our lifetime, I think so.
They haven't won a major bowl since '94.
I mean, the only ones you could maybe argue would be. I mean, even then, there's nothing really in the Brady Quinn run that sticks out. So, it'd probably be this. Up till right now, anyway, it's this.
The only one I can think of wasn't Clemson #1 in the country. They beat them.
Yeah, that's true.
But Lawrence didn't play that game.
Correct, yeah.
That DJ guy played.
No, I don't know if that was DJ. I think that was Chase Bryce.
Can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it was Chase Bryce.
It was when Lawrence got hurt there. And
Yeah.
didn't
No,
play.
that was Chase Bryce, yeah.
But
that's who Syracuse faced most of that game after they knocked Lawrence out.
Oh, yeah. But that was a good win for Notre Dame. This doesn't compare to this game, though. To actually win, they still call these BCS Bowls.
Well, New Year's, the New Year's Six.
Anyway, we'll take it. Yeah. To never have a win, to get blown out in all these games, going, what was it, the last time they played in the Sugar Bowl, they got crushed by Jamarcus Russell there at LSU.
Yeah.
They get crushed by Alabama in the national title game, got crushed by Clemson and Alabama in those other playoff games.
I mean, and, you want to go history here. I mean, this is, I guess, for the old heads more than anything else. Kind of exercised some demons against Georgia. Like, they had played a few different times in the past, even in a couple Sugar Bowls, and Georgia won both, including what was the lock for their national title in 1980. This exercised some demons for Notre Dame against Georgia as well. And
clearly, this wasn't one of Georgia's better teams. I mean, they should have lost to Georgia Tech for Christ's sakes,
Yeah, probably.
They should have lost that game. This was not one of their better teams, but it was still something to beat one of those top SEC teams.
Yeah.
And sure, they'll come out with their excuses, but it's the same people that said Georgia's easily going to win this game. And I think Georgia, it's funny, the SEC commissioner before the game wanted to move the Orange Bowl and the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
Almost like assuming you were going to move on.
Mm.
I don't know. The SEC they've been on top for so long. And with the college football changing a little bit, these teams are so much more even now, and which is good for the sport because you're going to see a lot of different teams win national titles now. I mean, look at the teams we got in there. Mm-hmm. Teams that haven't done – Ohio State's even been a while. These teams haven't won in so long.
Yeah.
And they got a shot.
It's an even playing field, right? NIL is even the playing field, which is what it was meant to do more than anything else in a way. So let's hold a couple of those thoughts for at the end of this conversation, because we're going to now kind of jump around a little bit. You mentioned Ohio State. I mean, I think the two main talking points here, right, is clearly Ohio State's defense more than anything else. Again, I mentioned in defense here, really damn good, and that offense, when it does decide to show up, can show up. I don't know what the hell happened with Oregon. And part of this is that, like I mentioned, something I want to talk about at the end of everything here, because there's obviously a theme with one of these bowl games that happened. It caught me off guard. I thought Oregon being an underdog was like one of those like slam dunk bets if you could get it. Just wasn't the case. Outplayed, outclassed, outcoached. It was
what Lou Holtz said about our football.
It was frankly, and I know what some people will say, but it was frankly the worst game. And I thought it was going to be the best game, but it was the worst game out of the 4 quarterfinal games.
Yeah. Oh, that game was over.
Yeah.
First 10 minutes.
21-0.
Yeah, and the one thing that we learned from this quarterfinals, I know you were going to mention it. I don't know if you want me to mention it now.
Wait until the end, because there's a broader discussion to be had with it.
One thing I'll say about these quarterfinals, Arizona State got the respect that they deserve. Talk about the season. They were projected last in the Big 12, and to come all the way, not to just make the playoffs, not to just win the conference, make the playoffs, but to get a bye and to be down like they were, looking like Texas was going to run them out of the building, to send that to overtime, had chances to win that game. That Scattaboo kid's legit. And, Arizona State got the respect.
Yeah. I mean, Dillingham, I mentioned this on, I think I teased it a little bit. I know I talked a little bit about it last week. I talked about it on Monday when me and Jim were talking about it on the betting podcast for the games. He resurrected a program that was frankly DOA.
And he's 3 years older than you?
36, so he is 6 years older than me. But this is a coach that brought back a program that was DOA, sanctions coming out the freaking everywhere because of the previous administration, and brought them already quickly to a point. Now, this is where you hope that they don't follow the path of like TCU, even Michigan this past year. You hope next year is not quite a just 500 year and move on. Do I expect them to be as good as they were this year? Probably not. But like, the fact of the matter is, Arizona State was a doormat the past couple seasons. They weren't this year. And give Dillingham a lot of credit. He took all the blame when, he probably didn't need to, but he did. Can't say that about a lot of coaches. Can't say about one in particular in a game yesterday. I know that. So
He did a better job than Herm Edwards.
Correct, yeah.
Wow. You can't drop off any worse than Florida State did this year, I guess. So
Yeah.
So wish the best luck to them.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned that Penn State, Boise State. Not the greatest game, but I didn't think it was terrible. I mean, Boise State's defense hung on way better than I thought they were going to.
We watched that game.
That was frankly, the only reason why they were probably in it was because
they cut it to
defense.
3 there.
Yeah, was because of the defense more than anything else. Penn State, James Franklin kind of can knock the, knock the narrative of can't win big games a little bit here, but
a little bit.
But let's get into that broader topic now that you kind of mentioned and we teased. All 4 of the bye teams, the top 4 seeds, lose. And so it begins, to me anyway, again, the debate of rest versus rust. And I've said for years across multiple sports, it's a double-edged sword. I get rest, and you want rest, but it can't be for too long.
No.
And I think that's kind of what you saw the case happen here, to a degree, with at least a couple of the teams. Now, personally speaking, this probably opens up a can of worms that is unfortunate for college football. Because now if you're a Power 4 team, there's going to be some coaches here who think it's going to be smarter to not try and reach a conference title game.
I know, which is stupid.
which is dumb. It's stupid.
A bye is
Yeah.
still moving on to the next
Correct.
round. I don't care about this rest or whatever. If these coaches start not trying to get these buys, they're insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. You gotta move on. Why would you want to play in the first round when you have a chance to move on to the quarterfinals? Makes no sense. I think a lot of it was just, I think the worst seeds were just kind of the better teams. I mean, Penn State, you can argue, was better. You can argue that Texas was better. You can even argue that Ohio State was better than Oregon, even though they lost them. And then you can argue Georgia's been overrated this whole damn season. So,
Yeah.
is it because of the rust, or is it because the other teams were just the better teams?
I think it can be both. Like I don't want to make it sound like I don't think it's not one or the other, but that's why I think it's both the rust thing, right? I mean, we talk about it in like look at pro sports, for example. Like that's what I mean when we talk about across multiple different sports. When a team sweeps a team and then they sit around and have to wait for like a week and a half because the other series that they're waiting on goes 7 games. Like, cool, you're able to rest, and I get wanting to rest for like a couple days or something like that. But like, if you want, like, you wait 7 days, like in some of those sports, like it's brutal.
Yeah, especially baseball.
I was going to say, like, basketball to me is always the one that sticks out. Like, you can tell when a team has sat around in basketball more so than you can the other ones, in my mind. But I just think, I don't know. There's a lot of talk already. You mentioned like Sankey. He even doubled down on the comments today. He brought up about how it made sense for him to request it and stuff like that. It's just, I don't know. The committee, I understand them. They're going to talk stuff over for next year, and that's fine. I'm good with that.
Is it the same committee every year?
Relatively.
Because college basketball is not.
But you need a unanimous vote to do anything fundamentally to change anything fundamentally to the structure. It needs to be unanimous. I don't think it's going to be unanimous by any means, but I have a tough time because like there's also people I know who how can I phrase this? Like they love college football. They want to keep it intact. They don't like what Sankey's doing in these other power conferences, but they're fine with it because it preserves, I don't know, like the level of playing field. And that's just, I don't get it. I go back to something I brought up last week. We don't complain in college basketball when the Cinderellas, beat the top teams, none of the other sports. I didn't bring it up last week. I'm going to bring it up now, and I get it. It's soccer. Like, it's still not a big deal. Soccer this year for the NCAA men's side had one of the most unprecedented upsets, period, right? 13 beats the 1 seed to get to the final against 2, and the other side of the bracket was 2 unseeded teams, and an unseeded team beat the 13 seed. Vermont beat Marshall. And nobody raised the fact that the 1 seed Ohio State got bounced. I don't know. And I get it. It's different sports. It's whatever. It just pisses me off that we gotta act like college football is some sort of highfalutin thing that has to be different. When the people who complain about the highfalutin thing are the ones who are trying to keep it highfalutin. It's whatever. Just don't sit and like my main thing is don't sit and complain about one thing when it's good when you're just pretty much doing the pot calling the kettle black. That's all I'm asking.
I mean, when you really think about it, the top 4 seeds all went down in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Any other sport, that'd be crazy.
Yeah. And instead we got people sitting here complaining about it because God forbid that their pockets aren't going to get lined or I don't know. It pisses me off. Anyway, we got some picks to make. I went 2-3 last week. You went 3-2, Nick. I'm 44-48 now on the year. 58-31 for you.
Nice.
So you're rolling pretty good, Nick. Rolling pretty
We
good.
have 5 games.
Unfortunately, I do not. We are only at 4 games at this point.
Even the FCS?
This includes FCS and a Division III game, because that's all that's left on the docket at this point. Well, going into next week, but because we're back at our normal time next week, we'll be able to handle both games. So, all right, first one, the Duke's Mayo Bowl, Minnesota versus Virginia Tech. That is tonight. Virginia Tech getting 9.5 points.
Virginia Tech playing who?
Minnesota.
I'm gonna take Minnesota, and I think there's gonna be a lot of mayonnaise.
I'm going with the Golden Gophers as well. Just don't know what to expect out of that Virginia Tech team more so.
And then the mayonnaise.
Correct, Mayo. The Bahamas Bowl tomorrow, Saturday. Buffalo versus Liberty. Liberty a 3-point underdog.
Buffalo.
Exactly, UB. Screw Liberty.
They were supposed to be in the playoffs.
Yeah. Poor things. FCS Championship, North Dakota State, Montana State. This is Monday night. Montana State's a 3.5-point favorite.
What happened to South Dakota State?
You're the one who picked them. You tell me.
Oh, man. I think the Dakotas still got it, North.
All right. I'm going North Dakota State as well. Then our last game, Sunday night, the Division III national title, Mount Union versus North Central.
What happened to Susquehanna?
They lost.
Oh, man. I'm going to take Mountain Union.
I took Mount Union as well. So
There's a line on that?
no line. That one's just a straight-up head-to-head pick because there is no line. I'm sure there might be somewhere on some like Austrian book, but not here. So NFL. Really, the main talking points here got to be just the fact we're going into this last regular season week. Some teams obviously still fighting for seeding and technically, I guess, playoff berths. Other than that, there's a lot of bad games still floating around out there. It's going to be interesting. Teams have been kind of mum about what they're doing, some of them. Some of them haven't been. For example, we know Patrick Mahomes ain't playing, right? The Bills, for example, who are locked in as the 2 seed, they can't go up, they can't go down. As of this morning, kind of sounds like Josh Allen's at least going to start, but who knows for how long. And there's a lot of other cases like that. Take the whole day Saturday, for example. AFC North is division deciding, playoff seeding deciding. For one team, it's playoff deciding. The only team we know that's not even playing their technical starter, quote unquote, is Cleveland. And so Baltimore's got maybe a de facto easier path. I mean, who knows? So it's an interesting week. I enjoy weeks like this because you kind of give guys opportunities potentially that they usually maybe don't even have.
The incentives.
It's a brutal week if you try and bet stuff. It's a brutal week for those, as I call them, psychos out there who have fantasy championships on the last week of the season. Yeah, and then you brought up another good point, incentives. You'll probably see some guys out there who say they're locked in their playoff spot. They can't move any higher, any lower. Maybe they're just going to be out there until they know that they can cash that check on stuff.
I heard that makes it easier to player bet.
It's true.
Because those guys are going to try to go for that. I'm rooting for the Bengals to get in, but I don't think they are because the Chiefs are just going to give the Broncos the playoff spot, which will basically knock out the Dolphins and the Bengals. Mm-hmm. We do have a great game to close out the week with the Vikings and the Lions. That is a lot of high stakes. Obviously, the winner is the 1 seed, and the loser is the 5 seed. Yeah. Which is a pretty big drop-off. But you don't hear anybody complain about why this division champions get top 4 seeds. When it's the same thing in college.
Yeah.
You don't hear anybody complaining there. There's just too many complainers in college. I mean, there just is. It's all you hear about. But
too many people that don't enjoy fun.
Yeah. So there's a lot of high stakes there. I like to think the Lions will win the game. Where's the game? Minnesota?
It's in Detroit.
It is in Detroit. Yeah. So, yeah, I like to think the Lions win the game. But Minnesota, you can't count them out. Even though I heard Minnesota might trade J.J. McCarthy.
Well, that might be a different discussion for a different time. But, yeah.
But what's great about
Yeah.
this week is because Black Monday, is it Black Monday they call it?
Yeah, it's still Black Monday.
When they fire all the
Yeah.
coaches. That's always interesting to see who gets the boot, who gets the can, who kicks the can.
Tell me, Nick,
Uh,
unbiased football fan, who do you think will be fired on Black Monday?
I hope Dable, man.
There it is.
I hope so. I'm never really bought into him. He's kind of a dick.
Whoa!
He's not the nicest guy in the world. And then Shane sounds like an idiot. Didn't even finish Hard Knocks. Couldn't watch it.
He's going to be sick.
I hope so, but I have a feeling not so. Because, let's just typical Giants football. Let's win at the end of the season when we're out of it and blow our first pick.
Drew Lock Masterclass.
Interesting to see Saquon not playing, but that's who Saquon is. People are like surprised that why isn't Saquon going for the record? That's not who Saquon is. Saquon is an unselfish man. He doesn't care about no damn record. They're in. They're ready to go for the playoffs. He's trying to win a Super Bowl, and I respect the crap out of Saquon for that decision.
I would, except he's a Philadelphia Eagle. So
Yeah, that sucks.
don't know if I can respect anything going on there.
But Washington getting in the playoffs for the first time since 2003.
20.
Up 20.
Get it right.
Yeah, so they're back. Daniels has had a great season. I don't want to take anything away from Daniels' season, but
Sounds like you're trying to.
we thought the same stuff about Daniels this year that we did about C.J. Stroud last year.
fair.
So we'll see what happens when he does next year, but let's enjoy it now.
Exactly.
And if they play the Eagles in the first round, that's going to be a great first-round matchup.
Yeah, I really want that 6 seed, though. Rather go to L.A. than Philly.
Yeah.
So, but that's what we're talking about, right? I mean, this is the big spot for a lot of teams this week is trying to still go out there and get the best available position for themselves. So,
60 would get you L.A.
yep.
Because they won the division. Duh.
And they're locked into the 3 seed.
And then the loser would play. We don't know the NFC South champion yet, do we?
That is technically correct.
It's either Tampa Bay or Atlanta.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay control their own destiny.
I think Atlanta's the one who technically can. It's weird because Atlanta holds the tiebreakers, but I don't know if they necessarily control. It's weird. The NFC South is just,
It's like that every year.
yeah.
But so the NFC South winner will host the Lions Vikings loser.
What?
The NFC South winner
Yeah.
will host the Vikings Lions loser.
Oh, yeah.
They'll be the 5
You
seed.
threw me off. My brain was computing it as the 1 seed. I'm like, but they got the bye.
Yeah, no, the loser of that
yeah,
game.
my brain was computing that the wrong way.
So the Rams are the 3 seed,
yeah,
and the Eagles are the 2 seed.
correct.
Oh, because you had to be the 7. Who's the 7? I don't-
7th right now is
Green
still
Bay,
technically Washington.
but they can jump Green Bay.
Yes,
Interesting.
which I don't think is going to happen, just because of who Green Bay is playing this week.
And Kansas City's gonna just not even try. They're gonna try to do whatever it takes to get Cincinnati out of that playoffs because they know they're all scared of Cincinnati's defense. Not really, but they're gonna do whatever they take to get Cincinnati out of there. And if Cincinnati plays Buffalo in that first round, the Buffalo Bills will be knocked out of the playoffs before the end of the college football season. I'm telling you.
College season, eh?
Well, actually, college season ends. The division round will all be over before that. But,
Yeah, because the championship is the 20th or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty late this year. But
Well,
the Bills do not want to play the Bengals. Get your Broncos. Get your easy game in the first round. You play the Cincinnati Bengals, they will go into Buffalo and beat them.
All right, I'll be the one who asks this. Why is everybody afraid of the Bengals?
Because they're loaded on offense.
Okay, yeah, you just brought up the reason why I'm skeptical of this whole entire Bengal. I get it on offense.
Who do you want to play, Bengals or Broncos?
Nick, I've seen wet paper play better defense than that Bengals defense this year.
I'm just telling you.
I'm just telling you.
I'm telling you, the Bengals get into the playoffs, they can win the Super Bowl.
I want to be the bearer of bad news. Any team that gets in the playoffs can, in theory, win the Super Bowl.
Not the Bills.
I just don't look. I don't disagree. All I'm saying is I just don't understand the whole entire Cincinnati hype all of a sudden.
Joey B. He's the best. I think he's the best quarterback in the league.
Wow. Okay. You really?
Yeah. This is fresh. This is a fresh take to start the new year.
A hot take, yeah.
I think Joey Burrow is the best quarterback in the league right now. He's put up unbelievable numbers. I give my respect, to the three-name guy there in Cleveland.
I don't know what Dorian Thompson-Robinson has to do with
He's
this.
second. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think he's the best in the league right now. Did you not see that game last week? Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome. He's like, forget the kicker. I'm taking over this game. That was an awesome game. They beat the Broncos, kept their dreams alive. So you think it's Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson?
I definitely think it's Josh Allen this year.
And he's a great pick, but it's the wrong pick. I think it's Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow's playing awesome this year. The defense is just so trash. If they had a halfway decent defense, they'd be the best team in the league. That's my opinion.
We do this every year with the Bengals. I'm sorry. No. That defense this year was supposed to be better than that offense.
And it wasn't.
Not even close.
That's what I'm saying. If they had a halfway, but they're playing well.
I don't disagree. I just don't understand why people think they get in and they're going to be this freaking weapon of mass destruction.
I like to see it happen, though. Nobody wants. The Broncos are going to get killed by the Bills. They go in there.
You don't know that. I think Buffalo wins, but freaking Denver's defense
Buffalo
is
just
good.
beats up bad teams. They don't beat the good teams when it matters.
That's every other football team in the NFL, though.
That's true.
What's Kansas City done this year?
15-1.
They're the most ugly freaking 15-1 team I've ever seen. And it's not even debatable.
There's not many of them, but yeah. And they're usually pretty good.
Fine, they're the most ugly one seed I've ever seen then. And it's not even debatable.
Worse than the Atlanta Hawks that one year?
Yeah. Worse than the Kansas City Royals the one year too.
Yeah.
I can keep going. I'm just saying, I just don't understand where all this, just because Joe Burrow's been able to sling the freaking P a little bit better the past freaking 2 months.
He's not going to get in anyway because Kansas City's just going to give Denver the win.
You don't know that either, but
Miami, though?
they need help, especially with Tua out, so.
Yeah, if they get in. But Skylar Thompson almost beat the Bills that year, so you never know.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, more power to people. I'm not going to sit here and your entire opinion. I just don't understand the Bengals love all of a sudden from a lot of people. And it's not just you, it's a lot of people. I just don't get it. I don't know. Hey, let's get to our picks then. 12-2 for me last week, 10-4 for you, Nick. Last
12-2. Just a casual 12-2.
169-85 for me, 151 and 103 for you.
Damn it.
Yep. Let's get to our first Saturday game, 4 p.m. Cleveland at Baltimore. This line, I saw it yesterday at 16.5. Went to check it today. Baltimore's favored by 20 now.
Jeez.
Yep.
20. Is
Yep.
that the record?
It's not.
No.
I remember a 21.5 a couple of years ago.
Okay. I'm going to take the Ravens.
As you should.
Dorian Thompson the third, whatever his name is.
He's not. You know he's not starting, right?
Winston back?
Nope. Bailey's happy.
Now, how many quarterbacks that?
I think that's 40 since 1999. I think he's. No, I'm not kidding.
I know.
I'm being serious. Like I'm pretty sure he's number 40. That's wild.
Get a quarterback.
Yeah. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. I think it's 8 p.m. or 8:15, whatever. Kickoff Saturday night. Steelers are 2.5-point underdogs to the Bengals at home.
Just say it.
I'm actually taking Cincy in this game.
Thank you.
But
I'm taking Cincinnati as well.
that's more to do with the fact that Pittsburgh has looked like
That's a playoff team.
they've looked bad.
You show some respect. That's a playoff team.
Steelers aren't locked in.
And they're not in yet?
They're in, but they aren't locked in.
Really? They could fall out.
I mean, they control the destiny. They literally control the actual destiny in terms of at least clinching a spot. They'll know the division situation because obviously they play second. But, yeah, I mean, if Baltimore wins, they know that they just have to win to get in. So, which I don't see happening. But, yeah. All right, Sunday, early window, 1 p.m., Carolina at Atlanta. Atlanta's an 8-point favorite.
Why is this game out of 1? If it's got playoff implications.
I believe that's because the other game in that division is also at 1 o'clock.
I'm going to take Carolina.
I actually am taking Carolina as well.
Atlanta sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Bijan's good.
Why not?
Atlanta sucks.
Washington at Dallas. Dallas 6-point home underdogs, the Commanders.
Kind of got Dallas in this game.
Why?
Just because, I think Washington's going to rest some players.
I don't think they are.
No?
No.
I think they are.
I think they want that 6 seed more than they want the 7 seed.
I just think Dallas wins.
Well, I'm going Washington, so. Mr. I'll never pick Dallas.
I'm trying to win this game, aren't I?
Hey, speaking of trying to win this game, the aforementioned game I alluded to with the Packers, Bears at Green Bay. Packers are 10-point home favorites.
I think the losing streak ends. I'm taking the Bears. I think they're going to go into this offseason with a positive note. They're going to go into Lambeau and win this game. Yeah,
I just want to make sure I heard you right and I wrote that down right. Chicago?
Chicago Bears will win this game. It's not my lock of the week, but
That's all right because I'm taking Green Bay.
Why? Why, Paul? Why?
They haven't quit on their coach or their team.
It's true. But the losing
They
streak.
have a competent head coach.
I think the losing streak ends.
Their quarterback is not Caleb Williams. That's right. I just took that shot. Hey, more power to you. Speaking of losing streaks, Houston at Tennessee. Tennessee's a 1.5 favorite at home.
Jeez. What happened?
I think that's more because Houston's locked into the 4. They can't go higher. Obviously can't go lower.
I've said Houston's not going to win again this year, so I'm taking Tennessee.
I'm still taking Houston.
Okay.
Big Davis Mills guy. So,
All right.
yeah. I think Davis Mills is better than Mason Rudolph. But that will be a game I don't have as my main viewing appointment. Hey, speaking of bad games, Jacksonville at Indianapolis. Indianapolis is a 5-point favorite at home.
Apparently, Steiffenen, whatever his name is, the coach, is coming back.
As he should.
They lost to the Giants. They gave him 45 points to the Giants.
I don't think bulk of the issues that happened in Indianapolis this year are his fault.
But Richardson, I heard's out, so I'm taking Indianapolis.
I'm taking Indy as well. Flacco versus Mac Jones.
Wow.
Buffalo at New England. New England's getting 2.5 points at home.
Not to jump ahead, do you think that's Flacco's last ever game?
I mean, I said that last year, and
He's still playing.
yeah.
Okay, this game.
Is he elite?
I think he is.
Buffalo at New England. New England 2.5 point.
They're resting everybody. I'm taking New England.
I'm still taking Buffalo only because we just don't know yet, and I think if you're New England, not to say you deliberately go out and lose, because I don't think anybody does, but you have the first overall pick right now. think I'd rather be in control of what I want to do with that pick than not.
True.
So, your Giants, Nick, they're at Philadelphia. Philadelphia's a field goal favorite at home.
Please, 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 Eagles.
Yeah.
Please don't make me win this game.
I feel bad I'm fading the Giants here, even with backups in for Philly, but Kenny Pickett looked pretty good last week.
Eagles, please.
New Orleans at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is a 14-point favorite.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Now move into the late window. All 4:25 kickoffs.
Oh, those are some good games to start today.
Kansas City at Denver. The Broncos 10.5-point favorites.
Kansas City.
I'm taking Denver.
Why are they getting the playoffs? You're scared. You're scared of Cincinnati. You are.
I'm not. I'm scared that Kansas City might do something to Carson Wentz, depending upon the outcome of that game.
Carson Wentz, good player.
Yeah, all right.
He has a ring.
Chargers at the Raiders. The Raiders are getting 4 points at home.
Chargers win this game because that will be the last game they win this season.
Ooh. I agree. At least with them winning this game. Give me the Chargers. Seattle at the Rams. Rams are getting 6.5 at home.
Rams.
I went Rams as well. I went back and forth on that game. I had Seattle typed into my box for a while, but switched over to the Rams. Miami at the Jets. Jets are getting a point right now. Obviously, that might change, though. So,
Jets. Bengals get in the playoffs.
I still got to go with Miami, I think. I just...
A win, and they get the win, and they still don't make it.
It has more to do with the Jets' incompetency than the Dolphins showing up. Just got to call a spade a spade.
Mike McDaniel gets fired on Monday.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, look at that. We'll revisit that Wednesday. All right, last of the late window, San Fran at Arizona. Arizona laying 4.5 at home.
Couldn't care less. The punt season is over for the Niners.
Not quite. They got to finish this game out, but yeah.
And they're going to punt away a loss here. I'm taking the Cardinals.
I'm taking the Cards as well. Monday night. Or Sunday night. Sorry, I'm used to with the last game, obviously. It's on me, people. You're waiting all day for Sunday night. Game of the year possibility. Vikings. Lions. Detroit, 2.5-point favorites at home.
It's not game 162, but it's game 17.
272 or something like that.
Is that how many there are?
Something like that, yeah.
I said Lions earlier in the show. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to take the Lions.
Throughout time, Nick, there have been certain teams that have a culture. Just not showing up when it matters most. Choking away those moments.
That's Minnesota.
These are two of those teams, to be fair.
Yeah, it's true.
Detroit's not letting it happen today, though. Give me the Lions.
And they go to the divisional round.
Mm-hmm.
And they're 2 wins away from the Super Bowl.
Crazy. 3 wins away
from winning this.
Wasting the Lombardi Trophy.
The Lions.
Who would have thought? It was mere a couple of years ago we thought it would be Cleveland doing it. And now
that wasn't too sold on that.
Sorry, we needed an adult in the room. Anyway. All right, yeah, before we get out here, spend a minute sulking in my own misery of Heat homerism. Jimmy Butler and the Heat are at an impasse. Jimmy is, I guess, not officially, but not officially requested a trade, as I call it, just because when you officially request it, you typically have your agent and general management speak, not you and the front office going at it in the media amongst each other. But this, I thought, was the marriage that was going to work out between Jimmy.
So what happened?
It goes back to the offseason. Or maybe technically, I suppose, before that in the playoffs, right? Jimmy was out with an injury, was kind of still running his mouth, which I don't have a necessary problem with. Pat Riley, on the other hand, did. Kind of thought maybe Jimmy could have played, said, unless you're playing, you need to shut up. I think it's kind of where it kind of all really snowballed and started. The initial reporting by Shams, now this is going back a couple weeks, obviously. We even talked about it at the time on here. None of what he was reporting was exactly new information, at least to like Heat fans. Like it was all stuff we knew, that Jimmy either wanted the max extension or wanted to trade, and the Heat were kind of going about business as usual like they would with a player in that situation, right? And that kind of everything at that point is kind of escalated with, especially the Heat front office and the media, right? Pat Riley saying we aren't going to trade him. Jimmy dealing with, he was sick, but dealing with an illness and, yeah. Look, maybe or maybe not, was kind of dogging it, coming back a little bit. Performance the other night in New Orleans didn't sit well with the team. Kind of thought he might have been dogging it a little bit. Spo hasn't played him in back-to-back fourth quarters of the most recent 2 games, including that New Orleans game, and just kind of came to an impasse in the post-game press conference yesterday. So here we are. Sucks. Jimmy was the first jersey I bought of a player since, I guess, Sean Taylor, technically, of one of my favorite teams anyway. I've bought jerseys of other players on different teams that weren't my favorite, but that's also just me kind of being a sicko. But
in your top 5 favorite Heat players.
I mean, I think he's a Mount Rushmore Heat player, period.
Really?
It just sucks the way it's ending. Thought it was going to be different, especially the way he was talking even less than really 18 months ago, saying that he wanted to retire in a Heat jersey. So, look, I respect it. Players got to go get their bread. It just kind of sucks the way it's all kind of ending and ended, really, to be fair at this point.
But you still respect Pat Riley.
Well, I respect him, obviously, right? But it's very apparent he's lost his fastball. And when you lose your fastball as a pitcher, right, in baseball, you have to get crafty. I don't know if he's really gotten all that crafty. And that's the issue, right? Look, I'm not telling anybody when you should hang it up in anything, right? If you feel like you can still go out there and do it at that high level, go and do it, right? But the way the past few off seasons have worked out for the Heat and the way everything's worked out, it's hard not to wonder,
if the
what's
end
kind of happened. Yeah. Hindsight's 2020. I don't know if the Heat were actually really ever in control to get Damian Lillard anyway in the first place, but there's been a lot of those quote unquote whales that they've now missed out on. And they got a lot of, no matter what now the way it looks, right? They're going to have a lot of money coming off the books going into this offseason. Enough that they can go out and technically get a couple guys. Do they have the wherewithal to go and do that? I don't know. But it'll be interesting, especially now. Just reports with guys who might be technically available, might not be available. I don't know. I suppose the question is now, though, at this point, is where does Jimmy end up? I don't know. Right? I think that's something that even he recognizes is going to be tough just because of the money situation for him and some of those teams that want his services. Look, the Warriors are the perfect example of it, right? I think they're near the second apron. I don't think they've hit the second apron yet, whereas Phoenix has hit the second apron, and they technically can't trade for Jimmy, but, if you do a swap with, Bradley Beal, you can do it. But, if you're the Heat, I don't know why you'd want Bradley Beal anyway.
No.
But the Warriors are the right example where you're going to have to figure out the money situation. That probably means Wiggins, Kuminga, some sort of draft capital that the Warriors.
Kuminga would be huge.
Yeah, I'm not. Yes and no.
Not sold on him.
Tough part there is, right, we already have Bam more or less playing out of position at the center. And that would just kind of, I think, amplify that issue in a bigger sense.
Is he not going to play for the Heat again?
Jimmy? Well, talk about another double-edged sword situation. I don't know if it helps his cause, but I also don't know if it hurts his cause if he does or doesn't, right? I think, if you're a prospective team, you'd like to see him go out there and at least show signs that he can play, quote unquote, right? If you're him, I understand why you wouldn't want to hurt your value. And this kind of goes back to what I was saying. This is a just lose-lose situation, both sides, in my mind. I don't think anybody's coming out of this in the best of light, right? And this is why I love Jimmy Butler, and I always will. Man doesn't care. He just wants to go out there and play basketball, right? I mean, you can say what you want about him and his attitude and whatever, especially in Minnesota and then obviously in Philly, but like at the end of the day, he just wants to go out there and win basketball games and play basketball games. And for a while in Miami, he shook that stigma he had around him. Now it's kind of crept back in. And that's why I just don't think it's a win-win in this situation for either team. It's a lose-lose situation for both these sides.
He will not go to the Knicks. He will not go to the Celtics.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't think so, right? I don't see either one of them. Boston especially, only because you have to look at structure, right? Like Boston especially, they already have Tatum and Brown, and the way they have it structured behind them, it makes no sense. If you're the Knicks, I'd first off with Karl Towns there anyway. It's not gonna work. But let's do the hypothetical that it's the team from last year that was there. I just don't know how he exactly fits within that. That would probably involve the hypothetical unloading of probably Josh Hart, I'd say. I don't know how that would work, in the terms of the chemistry of the Knicks.
His drunk thoughts also say he doesn't want to play there.
Wow. We've had talks about this on here. New York's a strange place to play for any sport.
I don't love your Thibs like that.
Well, I mean, it sounds like him and Thibs were still fine throughout everything.
It was
more
more
or less.
Towns.
Yeah. So, I still think Denver's going to be an interesting team to watch in this. I know both sides have said that they don't expect to be meeting here, but I still think Houston's going to be an interesting team to kind of watch on this. Don't think they'll be the ones to do it because I think the Heat will want a lot of that young talent. And I
goes to the
don't
Thunder.
see that happening. But what do they have to fully offer? That's the tough one.
Without giving up one of their key assets.
Also, frankly, I don't know if he's a good fit for the Thunder. Still think Denver's going to be a pretty big piece in this. Mentioned them, mentioned Houston. Dallas is one to watch, but again, I just don't think they have the capital outside of like the first big piece, which would probably be PJ Washington, I would think.
He'll find a way on the Lakers.
I don't think so. That's the one where like you want to talk about like I would even put below the Knicks. I would think the Lakers would be.
They don't have anything to give him.
Well, think about it like this: him versus LeBron versus Anthony Davis's egos. All three of them going at it. Yeah,
Not good.
that's a lot of perceived alphas in the room.
Yeah.
Golden State, again, I go back to that one. I can see that one working. Don't know how great it'd be, but, I mean, if you're Golden State, this is your last year in this window more than likely anyway, so, like, what difference does it make? Yeah, I don't know. The suitors are out there. Let's not twist it, but it's going to be a tough hang, so.
Yeah.
We'll keep it monitored here, though. All right, we'll get out of here on that note. Nick, who are you shouting out today?
Shout out my fantasy football champions this year.
Okay.
Shout out. I run 3 leagues. Shout out Josh Langley. Josh Langley for beating me in the Jerry 1 finals. Shout out Zach Lovell for beating Noah Ogden in the Davis Hall League finals. And shout out Jakeem Brown beating Nate Severance in the Space Hall finals. So shout out Jakeem, Lovell, and Josh for winning my fantasy football leagues this year.
All right. Congratulations to all. We will be back.
To all a good night.
Well, kind of. We'll be back at our normally scheduled day and time next week. Back at it Wednesday afternoon, 2:30. Appreciate everybody for kind of hanging with us here through the holiday season. Those past couple weeks, just look, loved them in high school and in school. We would get 2 weeks off from school for it, but man, in the adult world, it's actually a freaking pain. It really is.
In college, I'd be off to Super Bowl.
Yeah, I would still have.
Couple more weeks.
I'd have another, I think, week. Yeah, well, I guess technically like 10 days, but yeah.
Those were nice.
Yeah, but yeah, as an adult, man, just holidays on the in the middle of the week like that's kind of freaking brutal.
Especially Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean,
It's tough.
yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Yesterday was a rough day getting up and going. Anyway, enough about that. We'll get out here on that note. Nick, you got places to be. I got things to do. So appreciate everybody for listening and tuning in. Like, share, subscribe on the FingerLakes1.com YouTube channel, all major podcasting platforms. We'll talk again on Wednesday, everybody.